Welcome back to the Milwaukee Market Update. We're covering real estate news and data and breaking it down to help you understand how it impacts your real estate decision. Teaser of the episode, how well does Ty know his Milwaukee neighborhoods? We're putting him on the spot here today.
Perfect. What to take away from this episode, what is a buyer's number one priority, and what are the must-do things for homeowners? How are national headlines like tariffs impacting the real estate market at large? How fast are the major stat lines for real estate changing in the Milwaukee area? And of course, what are the best restaurants to go to with your parents in Milwaukee or potentially have them cover the bill?
Yeah, love it. We're here to give you the info you need to make the right decisions regarding your real estate decisions. Should I buy a home now? Should I be selling? Is the housing market about to crash or is it crashing? And are these headlines I'm reading and content I'm seeing on social media even true or relevant to me? If you're new to the show or returning because you find value in our previous episodes, it means the world for us to take a second and subscribe. And also follow us and reach out to us on Instagram, Horizon Homes MKE. I'm Nick.
I'm Ty.
With Compass, your local Milwaukee real estate experts.
All right, so let's start out with our quick tips. What do you have for our home buyers out there?
Yeah, I think for buyers, when you're kind of in this prep phase of searching for a home, finances are obviously very important in understanding purchase price, your budget, all those kind of things. But I think even more important is looking at your specific neighborhood, start doing some window shopping, and just get a sense of when a home gets listed for sale, how quick it goes under contract. Because I think that is probably the biggest understanding right now if you're new to the market to buy a home, to get a sense of is just what's the market like, how quick do I need to move, and getting a base feel of just what does it look like. And right now it's very hot. Right now you got to go see it first day. But I think that is probably the most important piece that I think a lot of realtors don't talk about. So that's my quick tip is obsess about your market and know how quick things are going.
Absolutely. For homeowners out there, not necessarily the I'm listing my home this year, next year. This is just I own my home. What should I be doing each year? That's a portfolio review. And that's essentially, think of your CPA. You meet with them probably once per year. Maybe your financial advisor, about the same. Your real estate professional is no different. You probably want to get a pulse check every 6 to 12 months on what is my biggest asset for most people worth and how's my market right now. And also just getting some of those things like what should I be doing spring, summer, fall, winter to make sure that I protect my asset.
Yeah, spring cleaning.
Yeah,
you doing something this weekend?
No, definitely not.
Okay, cool. Well, we're rolling out a new segment here. We're going to put Ty on the spot. We're going to see how well Ty knows the market. And so this one, we're just doing how well does Ty know his neighborhoods? So Ty, I've got a list pulled from a combination of ChatGPT and verifying this all with Redfin. I want you, in no particular order, to try to guess the top 10 most expensive municipalities by average sales price in the greater Milwaukee area. All right.
Greater Milwaukee area.
Yeah. So we're doing the 4-county area. We're not going to drill down into like the specific like Chinaqua, Oconomowoc Lake. So think bigger picture, but top 10 average price point municipalities.
Okay.
Go. In no particular order.
All right.
Top 10.
Start,
what you got?
I'm going to have my little mental map laid out here.
Yeah.
River Hills.
Number 1. Nice. River Hills, average price point, 1.1 mil. Good work.
Great. Pretty good.
Yep.
I'm going to go with Mequon.
Mequon is on the list. Number 4.
Okay.
Average price point, $700K.
Shorewood.
Shorewood is on the list. Number 8.
Okay.
Average price point, $550K. Whitefish Bay, number 10.
Okay.
$550K as well. So it's kind of a tie between 8 and 10. But yeah, on the list.
Okay. The next one I would say is does Franklin crack into this?
Franklin does not crack into this. Average price point of $390.
Okay. Next up, I'll say Pewaukee.
Pewaukee is not on. It's on this list. Number 6.
Number 6.
Number 6 at 600.
Okay. Heartland. I know we're going into the weeds on that, but
Heartland is number 11.
Okay.
Tied at 11, also at 550. So we'll put that in there.
Let's go Wauwatosa. Seems like that might be close.
Yeah. Nope. Sorry. Yeah. 400.
Okay. I feel like there's some really obvious ones that are probably sitting out. Menominee Falls.
Nope, not the Falls. Think like between Waukesha and Milwaukee. What you got there? There's a couple. Elm Grove, number 2,
Brookfield.
850. Brookfield is in this as well at number 5.
And then finally, New Berlin.
New Berlin is not on this list.
I think I'm
Nope,
getting tapped out here.
475. All right, so you've got you did really well. You
Okay.
did really well. Delafield, number
Yes.
3, 750. Fox Point is number 7,
Oh, duh.
and
Of
then
course.
Bayside. So
Okay.
we got a lot of items along the lake Michigan area. You got Elm Grove, you got Brookfield, River Hills. You did pretty good, I'd say.
Okay.
Pretty well
Perfect.
for
Can't be perfect.
no, but I think you nailed it. So yeah, good work.
Awesome. Well, outside of that, we're going to dive into just some of the data to set the context of what we're seeing here in the Milwaukee area, and then dive into some of our national topics that are going on that are probably top of mind, and kind of wrap up with our local thoughts of how that might be impacting you, given the data in mind. So,
Yeah.
starting off with our Milwaukee data, starting with new listings, 1,400 listings, which is down 3% year over year. Pending sales down 8%. Closed sales down 6%. Again, we kind of see that continued trend of if there's not enough inventory coming, that's going to delay the amount of closed sales we have. Days on market is flat year over year at 29 days until sale. Median sales price, $342,000, up 6%. I'm happy to see that come down a little bit here to be a little bit more realistic. The 3 prior months were in the double digits in the teens. So good to see that kind of stabilize a little bit as we get into the second quarter of the year. Percent of original list price received, we're sitting at 99.6%, more or less flat year over year. Inventory of homes, 2,200 homes, up 9%. Months of supply, still sitting in a seller's market, 2.2 months versus 1.9 months last year. Again, balanced being 3 to 4. So the main ones we like to highlight every month: new listings, median sales price, inventory, and months of supply. Like we just mentioned a second ago, I guess let's dive deeper into new listings inventory to start.
Yeah. Well, I guess kind of taking a step back here, what are you kind of seeing in the market this last month? And have you noticed anything changing this last month to kind of what the prior year has been? Kind of just fill in these gaps of these numbers here. What are you kind of seeing? What does this mean for people that are buying and selling homes?
I actually pulled up for our staff meeting here at Compass. I pulled up a little up arrow is green, down arrow is red, a nice gray equal kind of line is what changed.
Yeah.
Most of that grid in terms of what is the trend versus the last 12 months versus last month was the same in terms of the trend. For some of these things, the trends are we're not really seeing a major uptick in new listings. We're not seeing any change on months of supply. And really what that kind of starts driving then is if you're not getting either less demand or more inventory, we still have a market where we can see home price appreciation.
Yeah.
That's the overarching theme I think we're seeing is it's the status quo, but the status quo is we're in an appreciating, pretty hot seller's market right now.
Yeah, and I would agree. And why do you think we're still in this sort of spot that we're in?
I still think it's if you talk to a lot of owners out there, they still have that nice, comfortable 3 to 4% interest rate. It comes back to some of just the core basics of unless you're forced into a move or it's the right reason for you to move, which would be growing out of your home, downsizing from your home, you get a promotion or maybe a relocation. Unless you have a very significant reason for why you're relocating, you're probably not super motivated to list your home and double your monthly payment.
Yeah.
I think that's probably one of the main things. A lot of the inventory we do see is a lot of those moving down homeowners, they've aged in home and now they're moving off to the next adventure, whether a condo, apartment living, assisted living. A lot of this stuff is those older 30 plus year old owners or people that are relocating.
Yeah, I kind of see too that if we flash back 3, 4, 5 years ago when rates were below 4%, you had a lot more people that were moving because they wanted to move, and it was a lot more feasible for them to upsize and get into from a 3-bedroom home to a 5-bedroom home and growing family, more baths. And now it kind of feels like
it's like trading a car. It's this one's fine, but I'm just going to move to this other one that has the same payment.
Yeah.
And
easy. It was very, and because of where rates were, it allowed a lot of people to do that. And I think now what we've seen, and I think this is pretty typical for the last year or so, is our CEO of Compass, Robert Refkin, talks about the 5 Ds. And I'll see if I can remember all of them off the top of my head, but you got diapers, so you're having babies; diamonds, you're getting married. Probably should start with diamonds, diapers, divorce, death, and
diplomas,
graduation,
getting a better job, whatever else.
Yeah, and so I think now more than ever, that is why people are moving. It's a life event where something has changed. Now they're moving. It's less of people, oh, I just want to move from one part of Milwaukee to the other for a larger home. There's a lot more of a reason behind it. And I think it's because of what you just mentioned, where
Yeah.
the rates are. People are locked into those beautiful rates that they have.
Yeah. And we're now 2 years out plus from when rates cracked up into the mid to high sevens coming out of that low interest rate environment.
Mm-hmm.
And we're seeing people that are open minded to moving. There's less of a barrier to move when you're going from a 7% to a 7%.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're already used to it. Maybe you're like slightly improving, going from a 300,000 to a 400,000, but that's not drastically changed here. So we're actually seeing a lot more moves and going back and forth, which we talked about before, for people that are already at a 6 to 7%. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, my theory is we're going to see the same third of inventory just keep getting traded hands over and over and over, and those are people that bought their home at that 7% rate and are now selling it a couple years later. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we've kind of summarized overall again, like how new listing is impacting the inventory of homes. Demand is relatively remaining high. We're seeing multiple offer situations. That's keeping the months of supply, suppressed into the low 2 range, meaning if all homes were in the entire greater Milwaukee area, all 4 counties, we have essentially 8 weeks of supply before all the homes are gone.
Mm-hmm.
Gone.
Yeah, and so that's very low. Like that is extremely low. Are you surprised by any of this data that you're seeing here, based on you being in the market every day, helping clients buy and sell homes?
No, I'm not surprised based on like how it actually feels when you're out there. And what you said in the quick tips is totally true. There's a lot of prep. Usually the first week or two is just all about dipping your toe in the water, learning your exact market, getting the expectation that buying a home's got to be your number one priority.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're going to be tough sledding if you're just a casual window shopper.
Yep.
Window shopping just won't work in today's market.
Yep. And it's tough, I think. It's hard. But it's also like we want to prep our clients to understand what this takes, because there is a ton of value of home ownership and the quality of life, financially, the equity gains in an appreciating market, where if you buy a home in Milwaukee, I mean, there's been several times I've helped clients. I was on the phone with one yesterday. They bought a home and they're kind of looking at another option to like maybe buy a second home or sell that one and move to the other one. And he's like, dang, I kind of wish that prices were what they were 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's like he's already in a good spot just because of the Milwaukee market and how prices have changed in the last 2 years here, and what the demand looks like for people to buy homes here. And just we don't have nothing available for sale, but the amount of inventory is so limited. I would have loved to have seen a higher tick in new listings coming up in March.
Yeah.
Everyone talks about the spring market, and I think really April, May, kind of June is really like, I think April 1st is really that first hoorah, it's officially springtime, even though it doesn't feel like it's springtime in Milwaukee. To me, that's like, people think spring market, they think April, part of March. So I would have loved to see more newness hitting the market in March as compared to what we have, which is flat to last year. But
yeah,
I mean, I'm also not surprised by it either.
Yeah. Time will tell here. We'll probably in the next 3 weeks be getting April data, then rolling into May. For some of those top end markets that have really great school districts, spring market starts a little bit later. So we'll see and continue to monitor to see if we're going to be pretty much flat to even down year over year in terms of new listings, which essentially the story that tells us is home prices appreciating is here to stay. So we'll continue to monitor that. But let's kind of expand our scope here and talk about some of the national topics that are out of there. The two mostly being tariffs.
Yeah.
I don't think that there's many people out there who haven't had the word tariff come out of their mouth in the last 4 to 6 weeks. And then how is that actually impacting interest rates, the stock market, and just overall people's sentiment and well-being?
Yeah. I think we're a little late to the tariff buzzword. I feel like,
but also now we have most of the information,
we do,
which is really nice.
Which is very nice. Yeah. Because if we flash back, was this 2-3 weeks ago? Tariffs were announced. We saw the biggest drop in the stock market in a single day since I think 2008. The streets were bleeding. It was red. I'm in a couple of group chats with buddies that obsess over the stock market more than I do. And it was blowing up all day about what's going on, what is going on. And then we flash forward to where we are now 3 weeks later, and it's recovered a little bit. It's still down, I think, 6% for the last month, but it's not down those double digits numbers like it was at one point. And we saw, because of that, a real quick relief in interest rates. And it
Yep.
was like, if you were one of those people that locked in an interest rate during those 1 to 3 days, you were in a really good position. And I believe we've now seen rates kind of climb back up from there.
Yeah. Yeah, the lowest rate I was kind of quoted over the last month here was like for the perfect buyer, 800 score, 20% down, primary residence. It was somewhere around like a 6.125. You could buy that down into a 599 for sure. And now we're probably sitting closer to, depending on your situation, a 6.625,
Mm-hmm.
getting into all of the decimal places, up to potentially a 7 still. I mean, and we're seeing volatility in the markets. Typically, when there's a little bit of pain, you do see that downward pressure on rates, meaning that they improve for you. But it's at the exact same time where your emotional well-being isn't as great, where you're
Yeah.
like, wow, my net worth just got cut by 10% in 1 to 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
That feels icky.
Right. Right.
And
Is now the best
is
time for
now the
me to
best time to
still to buy a
buy,
home.
but it actually helps affordability at the same time, which goes back to our 5Ds of why people make the decision.
Yep.
It's usually not because of what a chart says for the S&P or the Dow or whatever else you choose to track.
Yeah. I think it's very interesting too, because there was a lot of fear in the market during that week. You know, there was a lot of talk of, are we entering into a new recession? Is this going to be a time where mass layoffs are going to happen? Um, and I know, excuse me, speaking with clients too, it was weird because it was on their mind, but it wasn't. I had a couple clients that asked me about it and what does that mean for Milwaukee. I had a couple clients that never brought it up altogether. I think that was most of them didn't bring it up. Then I had a
Yep.
couple clients that were like, we're terrified, we're scared, what is going on?
Mm-hmm.
And I think time kind of heals all. And if we had a crystal ball, we could be able to like know all these things. But there's no doubt that when this is happening, while you're making one of the biggest decisions of your life, it's going to be kind of scary.
Yeah.
But I think it's also, I always use this analogy of a lot of our grandparents that bought their house and just bought it, not even as an investment, just a place to live. They lived there for 30 years. Then all of a sudden they're millionaires. It's like, it's the time that you're in
Yeah.
the market, not timing the market.
Yeah.
But it's easier said than done when you have all of this noise coming at you. But it's also very interesting to me that we had one of the worst weeks of the stock market in the last 20, 30 years. And we saw relatively no change from what that meant for buyers and competition.
Yep.
While all this was going on, I was still out showing homes with clients. I was still calling listing agents, asking how many offers they have on their house. And there's some with more than 5, some are double digits. And so it's relatively, in a weird way, had almost no impact on the market here locally.
Especially first-time home buyers, move-up buyers. I think where you start seeing the impact is we have some investor clients where it's like, yeah, they're maybe using, as they see, their net worth cut, they're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be making that purchase right now in this moment with my portfolio or whatever else being down. And the second piece would be the luxury market, the people that are, $1 million plus, which is definitely in like that upper percentile of our inventory.
River Hills.
River Hills, exactly.
Nailed it.
Like, do I need to be making this luxury purchase right now?
Yeah.
Especially when you look at like, I think it's something along the lines of like 50% or like a third of all of our gross domestic product of the United States is driven by the top 10% of income producers. So it's like that's like where we'll see like it's not as much of our inventory in homes. So there's probably going to be bigger flow throughs. I think what I want to kind of monitor as we go forward is, does that impact the pre-approval data? Because the sentiment might keep people from actually starting the conversation, reaching out to the realtor, reaching out to the lender to get pre-approved. Like, does this actually decrease demand in the next few months unless things stabilize, there's more certainty, and it's almost like a blip of a week or two that maybe feels slow, and then we just roll right past it.
Yeah. And I think it's like, it goes always back to what we always preach on this podcast is know your specific market, because what is happening in the national news definitely has an effect on the day-to-day consumers that are buying and selling houses. But the market right now is what the market is. And if you're fearful of buying or selling your house, I think that's very fair. But I also think if you look at just the Milwaukee collective data, relatively nothing has changed at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's very good to know what matters to look at and what doesn't. I'm not saying disregard anything you're hearing, but it's very important to always like think about this from like a data perspective, and don't let your emotions take over if buying a home or selling a home is something that is the right move for you.
For sure. And I think this maybe summarizes kind of what we're talking about here of national headlines versus what we see here. Something that's commonly said, not that I came up with, is headlines do more to terrify than to clarify. And like that's the common theme there is like if you're constantly watching the headlines, they're not there to be informative. They're there to get the clicks.
Mm-hmm.
And like to ground yourself in your local data and situation because overall, like I said, we have like a no change across, I would say, out of our 10 stat lines that we track, like 7 of them were no change. So like it's like steady Eddie, summer day in the river in Milwaukee, chilling with a beer in hand. Like it's a competitive market, but it's a predictable market here
Mm-hmm.
in Milwaukee overall. And I
Yep.
think that's what most people can ground themselves in. Like, yeah, it's fast moving, but a home comes up, you're going in the next 24 to 48 hours. You're likely going to have some competition. We've gone through the steps. We're going to write your best offer, not necessarily the offer that wins, but the best offer for you.
Yep.
And we wait to receive feedback and we proceed.
Yep.
It's the same script. It's the same process. There's a lot of predictability of what we see in the market, not these massive ups and downs.
Yep.
With that, so I think we covered a lot of the local themes again of markets moving quick, get out there first day, several offers, making decisions quickly but confidently because
Mm-hmm.
we've done that prep work. Let's talk just very quickly about just the high level of the two-family space, and then we'll go into some national kind of data lines that we can compare to our local landscape here. So the duplex space in the Milwaukee County area, we're looking at 1.5 months of supply, 1.75 months of supply, slightly up from last year, but more competitive overall than we're seeing in the single family space. These 1 month stat lines are always a little bit crazy to see. The median list price up 40% at 190K. Obviously, that's probably just more of a higher quality of inventory being listed year over year. But median sales price is at $220,000 for the typical duplex, up 15%. So 15% home price appreciation. That is a stat line that we've seen consistent in the
Mm-hmm.
Milwaukee greater areas, more or less anywhere from up 10 to up 15% price appreciation, with the median days on market before an accepted offer sitting around 10 days. Again, that's like home out of the 500 homes that are listed at any given time. The ones that go under contract, the middle point, the like average to low competition, is still getting an offer by the second weekend.
Yeah, it's kind of funny looking at the average days on market versus the median for the duplex space, average of 40 days, median of 10.
Yeah.
So you've got a lot of old inventory that's been sitting for a long time, driving that average up. I don't know if you took stats in college, but that was one of my favorite classes. So looking at the average to median is fascinating to me. I'd love to know what the mode is, get all three in there.
That's just the average,
mode.
Right?
No, it's which number pops up the most.
Whatever.
So I thought you took stats.
Yeah, in high school. I was a year ahead of you apparently, but gone from my memory. So next up overall, we've got our national stats. I think the first thing I want to kind of pop into here is national inventory is on a increase trajectory. So at this point, national inventory pre-COVID was somewhere around like the 900,000 homes range.
Mm-hmm.
We are now at essentially pre-COVID levels on a national basis, 892,000 homes. So inventory overall, if you're seeing the national landscape, it's back to pre-pandemic levels. Builders are not necessarily rushing supply to the market. They're focused on profitability, not number of units that they're creating. With next up on that then is our purchase index, which is the amount of pre-approvals. I think from other sources that I follow, they're very surprised to see the resilience of actually seeing pre-approvals continue to increase over time at 7% interest rates. A lot of experts out there are surprised by that stat line, that the demand is still very strong. And a lot of that goes back into macroeconomics of a lot of young millennials, a transfer of wealth, and parents helping their younger children get into the real estate market and helping them with the affordability issues.
Yeah, I also think too, you have a lot of, just speaking here in Milwaukee at least, you've got a lot of new apartments that have been built that are the super luxury A+ type. And then you also just have a lot of other luxury apartments that have been around Milwaukee for the last 10 years. And I know the rent increases on those are crazy.
Right.
I know that even for a 2-bedroom, what you're getting, like you're splitting it with a roommate. And so I think you do have a lot of people that are kind of just fed up with renting too, that are like, yeah, I know the market's hard right now to buy, but also my institutional landlord keeps raising my rent by $200 per month per year, and
Yeah.
I'm sick of this. And so
Yeah.
I think that's also like a very common theme that I hear a lot of times from first-time home buyers is my rent just went up $300 a month this year. I'm sick of this.
Yeah.
So I think it's like there's
There's something
resiliency
to
in
be
there
said
too.
about eventually, even if you pay more in the short run, if you find something you like for the long run, you can lock in those prices. You have exposure to being able to lower your payment with refinances in the future. There's just like a little bit of like comfort behind control
Mm-hmm.
that like they're not going to be able to say we're not renewing you. They're not going to be able to say we're raising your prices on you.
Yep.
For sure. Moving then over to our mortgage rates, which also I think the way we want to tie that in this month is like the unemployment data, right? Because there's some pain out there in the market and something that we need to watch. As of today, the 30-year fixed rate is at 6.98% on average. Obviously, you can get better rates for adjustable rate mortgages or shorter term, like a 15-year. This did, like I said, the average rate dipped closer to like a 6.75 about a week or two ago for those like short-term dips. And then obviously the better the rating of your credit score and other factors, you can get it lower. Going on to this next page here on unemployment rate, right now what we're seeing nationwide is the unemployment rate is sitting at a 4.2. And you really don't see, the chart that we've got on the YouTube channel. There's these gray bars on the chart. You typically don't see recessions until you get to 4.5 to 5. 5 is kind of more the magic number. We're watching this like rates will start going down if you see unemployment going up. So it's bad news is good news for you and your mortgage. And again, that's kind of like the catch 22 here of mortgage rates is it's usually not a good thing when we see rates go down below the historical average being 6 to 8%. So something we're watching relative to Wisconsin, holding strong, 3.2% unemployment. So Wisconsin really looking strong from that standpoint. If we see unemployment or if we see jobs reports come back, which is something the Fed and other industries report on, then we'll see some downward pressure. And it keeps on sticking around here, not tariffs, but inflation. So right now in the inflation data, we're sitting at a 2.4%. Relatively stable overall.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty dang close. That's the closest we've pretty
It's
much
the
ever
lowest
been.
it's been in a year.
Yeah, I mean, we hit 2.4 in September. Their Fed target is 2. Obviously, a lot of people are nervous in terms of how this relates to tariffs is tariffs are typically inflationary because the corporations pass on those costs to their consumer.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to continue to wait for new CPI data that comes out in the future. As we kind of look under the covers, our all items minus food and energy, which are a little bit more variable, we're sitting at a 2.8. That was like the thing that was so sticky for a long time, specifically shelter, which is like your rental things that are done in 12-month increments. We're sitting at a 4% for shelter right now, which is very much in line with where we're seeing appreciation nationwide now that we've came back from some temporary pain in 2022, 2023. And that housing is a third of the total index overall, and seeing that still sit at 4%. We'll have to see if there's any impacts that flow through with lumber, things that are needed for building supply.
Yeah.
The other stat line that people are tracking as well is availability of labor with some of the international immigration rules that are trying to be put into, because there's a good amount of the workforce that supports housing construction that aren't necessarily local here to the United States.
Yeah, and I think this inflation chart's interesting to look at too, as they break it down by all items and food, energy, and then everything else minus food and energy. I think it's missing one section though, which is egg prices.
Well, that's in food, but we need a deep dive.
No, I need to see how much egg prices are affecting the inflation because it's
that's another funny bit. Yeah,
yeah,
just eggs.
No, it's been a hot topic though, and I'm hoping for some relief in the inflation side.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so as always, we like to kind of end with this little fun bit.
Yeah.
Is what's the best blank? And I think this month we're going to go kind of next in our line of idea generation here, which is the best restaurant to take your parents to.
Cool.
Whether it's about the food, the atmosphere, maybe a little bit more sophisticated versus your typical eatery.
Yeah.
Give me the best of here. What's the number one best place to have your parents maybe even take you out for a nice meal?
So I'll do 2.
Okay.
I think we've even mentioned one of these before in the last episode. I can't remember.
Okay.
Place on the lake. Bartolota Restaurant, Harbor House.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean
still
that's
mine.
I think that's
That's a
like
place where you find somebody to take you and cover the bill.
yeah, and I've had a couple of clients give me gift cards there, and
Wow.
thank you everyone that has done that. Great date spot, but also just a great spot to take your parents because I think that view of the city, you don't see that anywhere because you're on this peninsula that's in the water basically. So you got this beautiful view of the lake, beautiful view of the downtown skyline in a way that you don't normally see it.
Yep.
Great food, great service. Feels like you're at like a little country club, like lake restaurant, and it's
Yeah.
really nice. I would say another close one too is Bridgewater Grill in Walker's
Yeah,
Point,
it's a good
right
spot.
on the river. Great food, love the vibes, and I like this time of year where it's the sun's out a little bit longer now. It's finally like sunsets around like 7:15, 7:30, so you get like a nice sunset right there. Cool patio with lights on the river. So those two are kind of my go-to spots, I'd say.
Yeah, I'll give you two as well since you gave two. I'm gonna give the atmosphere, just cool place to go. But your parents might be like, oh man, what did I just get myself into? In Shorewood, Cloud Red,
Okay, not bad.
awesome spots. It's like some of them are smaller plates, but it is awesome. It's you go up, you order your food at the bar, they bring it out to you, great cocktails, but it's like find your own seating sort of setup. So it's like you kind of have to, if you go on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, you're like hanging out. You can't go with bigger groups. Like 4 people's kind of the cap.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're like fighting for a spot. Awesome spot, great food. You have to try, of all things, me being a big meat eater, the buffalo cauliflower.
Okay.
That's like
Can't even tell it's not
every
buffalo.
every time you go there, I'm like, they're gonna mess it up this time. It's gonna be like a little soggy, like you get at a lot of other places. It's crisp. They've got an awesome blue cheese sauce, so good.
Okay.
The second piece, because from Iowa, my
Yeah.
family from Iowa, this isn't a common experience here. So a supper club is like the thing you have to go to. One of my favorites is Jake's out in the Brookfield area, where you can get yourself. You walk up, they've got a bar. You get your drink order. They get there, your dinner table. Usually carpet, kind of like up north kind of feel. And just a really good place, good food, good steaks, usually steak focused, family sized sides like mac and cheese. And of course, you have to wrap it up with a Brandy Alexander ice cream cocktail. So good. Those would be the spots that I'd highly recommend. People have their parents take them out too. So you can show maybe a little bit of that little downtown kind of niche restaurant or the Wisconsin Classic.
Love it.
So
can I do an honorable mention?
Of course, honorable mention.
La Miranda.
Yeah.
If you're sitting outside.
Yes.
If you're sitting inside, you're kind of like, where is this? What is this? But outside, patio, great food, great spot.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we've got that perfect little Walker's Point Bayview area. It's got so many good spots that are not like over the top, like steakhouse, Italian restaurant, like just good food, interesting food, different varieties. Certainly Milwaukee's underrated in that aspect. But as we wrap up here, if you found value in the information we just covered about the Milwaukee area, please subscribe, hit that bell notification. Also, give us a follow and subscribe on our Spotify or Apple, whatever one is your preferred podcast player. Thanks, and we'll be back again next month with the Milwaukee Market Update.
Bye.